Public education funding in North Carolina. Public schools are funded through three main sources: state, federal, and local dollars. Each contributes a portion of what schools rely on every year. When we look back over the last 20 years of school funding in North Carolina, one clear trend stands out. The state, which has always been the largest source of support for public schools, is contributing a smaller share than it once did. In 2004, state funding covered about 65% of public schools' costs. Local governments made up roughly 25%, and the federal government contributed about 10%. By 2024, the overall balance has shifted. State funding has fallen to about 60%, marking its lowest point in the entire 20-year period. Local funding has edged down slightly to 23%. During the same time frame, the federal share rose from 10% to 17%. As we look at how these funding sources have changed over time, it's also helpful to understand that each level of government supports different parts of public education. State, local, and federal dollars each come with their own responsibilities and decision makers who determine how that money is used. At the local level, county commissioners are responsible for raising revenue, mainly through property taxes, and deciding how much of that money goes to public schools. They fund buildings, maintenance, and other capital needs. They can also provide local salary supplements when state funding isn't enough to attract or keep teachers. Local school boards identify the district's needs and submit a budget request to the commissioners. Once funds are approved, the school board decides how that money is used within the district. They hire the superintendent, set district policies, and make key decisions about staffing, resources, and school operations. On the state level, it's the General Assembly that decides how much funding schools receive each year through the state budget, and the governor can propose changes and must sign the budget into law. State funds come from taxpayer dollars, such as income and sales taxes, along with non-tax revenue sources. In 2024, nearly 93% of the state funding was used for personnel. Here you could see a pie chart showing of that 93%, 65% is for salaries, and the other 28% is for employee benefits. The State Board of Education and the Department of Public Instruction oversees the distribution of funds to local school systems and ensures schools follow state policies. At the federal level, Congress and the U.S. Department of Education's roles is to uphold equal access to education, safeguard student civil rights, and support programs that address the needs of disadvantaged groups. Federal funding reflects these priorities. During the 2024-25 school year, Title I accounted for about 33% of federal education funds and supported schools serving large numbers of low-income students. 32% supported child nutrition programs. Another 23% went to the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act to provide services for students with disabilities. The state is the biggest contributor to public school funding, but right now, North Carolina has a big problem because the state still hasn't made a new budget. The Senate wants to lower taxes, and the House disagrees, so they won't talk or work together. Because there's no new budget, the state has to use a continuation budget, which means schools are running off of last year's amount. This is a big problem because schools can't keep up with last year's budget since prices have gone up and more students need help. Schools were supposed to get new funding to hire teachers and support students, but since they can't do it, schools have to make hard choices, like delaying hiring, cutting programs, stretching money that isn't enough. North Carolina is the only state in the whole country without a new budget, and our public schools are the ones being hurt the most. You can learn more about public school funding by visiting publicschoolsfirstnc.org. To read our fact sheets, click its link under the resource tab. You can also subscribe to our newsletter and follow us on social media.